All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl. I am super excited to be here with Kevin Bellack today. And Kevin is the Sober Ginger on Instagram. He is located in the States in Cleveland, Ohio, and he is a accountant by day, known as the Sober Ginger on Instagram, and he's doing some recovery and life coaching work now, and he'll tell us more about that, but it's super nice to finally meet you and have you here, so welcome, Kevin.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, it's great to be talking to you live. I know we've exchanged messages for a while, but it's good to finally talk to you in person, kind of.
Yeah. And so Kevin is involved with, he's a co-host of 1,000 Hours Dry, which I had Kayla from 1,000 Hours Dry in way back, one of my earlier episodes. And so Kevin and I have been messaging on Instagram because I did a yoga class for them. And so that's kind of how we got connected. So,
yeah.
So why don't we start off by you just kind of giving me a bit of context, like tell me a bit about yourself, who you are, kind of where you're from, what's your sort of story?
Okay. Yeah. So I am 41-year-old accountant in Ohio. I've been in Cleveland ever since college. I came out. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and then went to college in Cleveland and just got a job here. My then girlfriend moved out here, and we got married, and so we live here with our teenage daughter. So that's where I'm sorry, I was going to go into that's kind of where my drinking career had started, because I never really drank prior to college or anything like that, a beer here and there. But really, college is where that all started for me. I know, as a lot of people I think do. I don't know if you want me to get into how that kind of
Yeah. I just wanted to say, first of all, I can't believe you're 41. You have the sober glow. You look like
exactly.
You're in your 20s.
Yeah.
So
that's just somebody said you're aging in reverse. I'm like, not really, but it's just I aged myself really quickly towards the end of my 30s before I went sober.
It's amazing.
Thanks for that.
It's amazing to see how sober just makes people look more youthful, because it's you just kind of get back all those years. So.
Yeah, it's in the eyes, right? It's just that you have that look where you're not just zoned out or dead tired or.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So why don't we jump into, tell me about your drinking? How did you start drinking?
I mean, I played 2 years of sports in college, and then I was in a fraternity. So, that kind of always, I feel, lends to, the weekend binge drinking with everybody. And so that's really, how my entire college career went. Actually, my first real time getting drunk and sick and all that was on a recruiting visit for football for college. So I was still in high school, and I went to the school and stayed over and met a bunch of players and just hung out, and we ended up going to a party. And so that was my introduction, I guess, to college life. And I made the most of it that night, I guess, and it just kind of set the bar for how I was going to act, I think, the rest of the way, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of binge drinking, a lot of, not really too much in the week, but, whenever there was any kind of party or any kind of reason to drink, we were, drinking all night. And that kind of then, I feel, continued into my early career as an accountant, because, that has a lot of deadlines, a lot of stress, a lot of, a lot of young people, just doing a lot of work, all hours of the night and weekends. And so to blow off steam, after that, we would go out and do the same binge type drinking all the time. And, I got married fairly young, I guess, for today's standards at 24. And we had our daughter when I was 27. So, it kind of was, college was a lot of binge drinking, then early career. And then once, I hit 27, I kind of our daughter was born. I changed jobs. I was, a corporate job where it was a little bit less stress and a little less deadline driven. Well, actually, the first year had a bunch of deadlines, but after that, it was less deadline driven. So things kind of seemed to even out. I ran a marathon like 3 years later, and so I was doing stuff, and I was staying active, and I was not drinking as much. I was still doing, like, when I drank, it was still, binge drinking on the weekends was my main kind of way I went about it. But then slowly as my 30s crept on, get more responsibilities at work and more stressors happen. Then I would come home and have a drink, to relax. And then, that would be 2 drinks. And then I would still, drink a bunch on the weekends. And there's a football game on tonight. I'll go, drink for that. And, it just slowly, my binge drinking on the weekends slowly kind of filtered into the week.
Yeah.
And then we had a big project at work in like 2015 timeframe. So I, was working basically all the time for that, all hours of the day and night. And that's how I a lot of stress, and my only real coping mechanism looking back on it was to drink. Like, I didn't, I tried to fit in exercise here and there, but that wasn't a priority for me. And when I didn't journal, I didn't meditate, I didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so drinking became my coping mechanism. And then slowly, I was just doing it every day when I got home, and I'd have a drink, and then I'd keep working. And then after I stopped working, then I would just have a couple more at night. And then 2016, our project was done, but now we have to implement it. And it just it was just led from one thing to the next. And then 2018, we were targeted for acquisition, our company. And, so I was on that project, and, it was just one thing after the other, like, that just kind of snowballed, and my drinking snowballed along with it. And I don't blame, it's not like I blame work for doing that. It's just, I blame my own, lack of awareness or coping mechanisms for it. And then got to the point then where in 2018, I ended up getting blood work done, and that kind of clued my doctor into, like, hey, your liver enzymes are a little high. Let's get an ultrasound done. And so get an ultrasound, and it came back, fatty liver, and even that. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to cut back. But then, all throughout 2018, just kind of my mental health kind of just started declining, because everything started, work just kept piling up, and all these, my weight was increasing. I was having these health problems kind of come up. My blood pressure was through the roof. My head liver, problems, which then made me in my head, I kind of was like worried, like, okay, what's going to, the big C then, right? I go either cirrhosis or cancer.
Yeah.
That's when I started like really thinking, like, how do I fix this, but not knowing how to fix it, not knowing what to do. And that's really where I got to. That was like kind of the end of my drinking. That's how that kind of shaped up, and kind of where I got to start asking questions of how I can handle these stressors, how I can change, how I can do that, and trying to figure it out. Coming up short for months, actually. I don't, in my personal life, I don't know anybody who went to AA. I don't know anybody who openly spoke about going to AA.
Yeah.
So that was really the only thing I thought about was as an option. And that's where I kind of, I'm like, well, I read about it, and I just didn't click with the whole higher power and powerless and all that. Even though I was powerless at the time, that's how I felt. But
right.
Like saying that and believing that for the rest of my life, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But because of that, I just kind of said, no, I'm not going to do that, but I have no other options out there. So that's where I was at the end of 2018.
Yeah. When did you finally, when did you quit, and how did you quit? How did that happen?
So yeah, 2018, 2019 started, and we actually went on a Disney cruise. And it was just like, it was after New Year's, because it's cheaper after New Year's because it's super expensive that week before. So we went on like a 5-day cruise, and just hit a couple islands in that. But Disney cruises too, they have alcohol, but they don't have like the unlimited drinking packages like some other cruises. And so at the end of the week, I get my bill, and it's like $800-900, and I'm the only one that drinks out of the three of us. So it's like, all right, that's a lot. Granted, they're inflated prices, but so I felt it on that kind of vacation. And then I came home, and I was already thinking about it, towards the end of 2018, that I need to do something. I was reading Recovery by Russell Brand. I was reading The Heroin Diaries by Nikki Sixx. I was just finding books that, I didn't know Quit Lit existed. I didn't know Sober Instagram existed. I was just trying to figure out what to do. And I always credit Russell Brand's book for kind of giving me the thoughts that got me to where I am. Like, cause I can't remember what step it was, cause he just kind of, reframes the steps, the 12 steps into kind of his own modern day spiritual kind of thing. And the one is, he said is, are you on your own gonna unfuck yourself? Can I swear on here?
Yes, yeah, it's explicit.
It's too late now, but as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, I should have checked first.
Have you listened to Kayla's episode?
Oh no, but I can imagine. Yeah.
There's a lot of F-bombs.
I listened to part of it, and that was a while ago.
But it's such a good episode. Oh my God, it's so inspiring. Anyway, permission to swear. Go for it.
Are you on your own gonna unfuck yourself? And that's what kind of, I remember I always listen to my audiobooks when I'm driving, and I remember just sitting there. I paused it when I heard that, and I'm like, that's it. Like, I can't do this on my own. Yeah. Like, I've tried to do this on my own so many times, and I'm the one that always wants to, whether it's at work or my personal life, like, I'll take care of it. I'll do it, and I'll go and do it, or I won't. And if I don't, then I'm just like, well, I guess I can't do that. And that's how I've always been. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to drink this month. And 3 days later I drink, and it's like, all right, well, this month's, maybe I'll try again next month. Not tomorrow, not today, like next month. But ultimately I got to the end of that book, and I was like, this isn't jiving with me, the whole higher power and that kind of stuff. And it does for a lot of people, and it helps a ton of people. But it just wasn't something I was willing to commit to, because I didn't think it would help me. Looking back on it, would it have helped me? Yeah, I believe it would have. But, not even knowing where to go or what to do, I was just like, all right, what are my other options? So then I started looking at like therapy. Mm-hmm. Also didn't know anybody who was in therapy. Yeah. So it's like, what the hell do I do? And I'm fairly lazy. So if I have too many barriers to entry or to keep doing something, I won't. I'll do it for a little bit, but then I won't do it. If I have to drive 10 miles to the gym, it's not going to happen. But if I have, if I have to drive 1 mile, okay, maybe it'll happen a little bit more frequently. But so I went online and I found therapy through BetterHelp.
Yeah.
And I kind of, what got me to the end in order to sign up, like, cause I was looking at it, I knew I had looked at it, I just hadn't pulled the trigger and didn't think, I'm like, maybe I can figure this out. And I remember buying a bottle of whiskey on a Monday night, and I had a bottle of whiskey, I had wine, I had other stuff at home. And I remember drinking that Monday night and probably took down about half the bottle, maybe a little bit more. And then I came home Tuesday, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to have a bottle of wine because I'm going to open up the wine tonight because, it's year end, I'm busy and stressed. And so I opened up the bottle of wine because I didn't want to, because I knew if I drank the whiskey, I'd probably finish that bottle of whiskey. And I opened up the bottle of wine and once I opened up a bottle of wine, I knew I was going to finish the bottle of wine. I finished the bottle of wine, but I wasn't done yet. So I went and I had a glass of whiskey then.
Yeah.
And then eventually I finished the bottle of whiskey too. And then I kind of just, that's when as I was pouring that last glass, and I still drank it, but I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
and I kind of was just sitting on the couch by myself, and everybody's asleep. And once again, I'm out here just drinking, and I don't know why anymore. And I kind of just broke down and started crying. I was like, I got to change this. And this has to, I can't go on like this. I already knew I had a fatty liver. I already know my blood pressure is 150/95, and my cholesterol's through the roof, and I'm overweight, and I'm stressed out, and all this stuff. I'm like, I can't, like, this is like, we're getting to the point here where there's going to be a heart attack or something that's going to happen, that a real wake up call. I mean, not that all these other things aren't wake up calls, but so then I kind of just, I knew I already looked at BetterHelp, and I can't remember what other ones are out there, but so I just went online that night and signed up, and I just felt like kind of a weight lift off of me. Until I woke up the next day, then I was like, oh, I better tell my wife about this, which obviously she was supportive, but that was stressful for me as well. Because then that's admitting, right? That's admitting before that, even though everybody could see what's going on, or maybe not totally understand what's going on. But yeah, that was Tuesday night. It took till Friday night to tell my wife.
Wow.
And actually she was sitting right here, and I was sitting in a chair there with a glass of bourbon, and we were talking for 20 minutes. I didn't hear a thing she said, because I was just sitting there thinking in my head, how am I going to say this? How am I going to say this? And I told her, I'm like, what would you think if I went and saw a therapist, and then like, it's like the cat was out of the bag, and she's obviously like, I think anybody who, wants to work on or improve their mental health, that's great. Like, I'm all for it. And so then again, it was like a weight lifted, and that's kind of how I got to at least the start of this path.
Wow. And so when in 2019, was it still the early?
Yeah, January 2019.
January. So you're just a few months before me in terms of sobriety. I quit drinking in April 2019.
That's not that. My last drink was April 29th. April 28th was my last drink. Yeah.
Okay. So we're in the same range then. Mine is April 13th.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, because I think that Friday night I drank that night, but then after that I went like 60 days without drinking. So that was my first like real stint into, with the help of a therapist and other things I've done. That was my first like real stint into it. But then it was like figuring out, okay, well, where the hell is this going now?
Right.
And still not knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And not everyone's path always has little detours. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's just like, okay, I'm going to quit. All right, I'm sober. Like there's always kind of loops and ins and outs, and
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me about, like, what was it like quitting? What was the hardest part? What were the challenges?
So like I said, I went like 60 days there, but the whole time, so I had to help, I had my therapist, and we met once a week. And then the big thing for me that helped was being able to message her.
Yeah.
Being able to pick up my phone and go into the app and just like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I know she's not going to read this until tomorrow, but just typing out like what I'm feeling, or the urge I just got, or being able to just process it, because once I hit send, then I could go in and delete it, but there's always that chance she saw it already. And it's just that it was that accountability factor for me.
Yeah.
And biggest challenges, I think, were just my emotions, really, right? Because what I realized really quick was I drank for every emotion. And if I got angry, my daughter was pissing me off because she was, being a brat or whatever. Yeah. I felt like my hand like shake, like going for the glass. Like I felt that urge. Or, if I was stressed from work, like I remember messaging my therapist being like, yeah, think I just said to myself, it was a Friday, and I just said to myself, like, oh, I need to drink tonight. Like, just that stress, like that was like breaking that automatic response to everything with a drink was the toughest part. Like, interrupting that cycle was hard. And for me, a lot of it was writing about it. And that's kind of where like my whole love of journaling started, was with that app, because I could just pour out my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I know a journal, I think, is supposed to be more for yourself and all that, and you can share it with people if you want. But that was, for me, I needed that accountability. I needed to put what was going on in my head out there to someone for the first time ever. Cause like, that's what I always say, like, I was fine. I was good. I was okay. Like, that's my response for everything. I never really processed anything, or I kept everything in. Like, everything I felt was like on me to do or to be responsible for, which wasn't true, but that's just how I always felt, whether it's work or personal or family or whatever, whether it was financial stress or work stress or whatever. It just kind of all felt like it was on my shoulders, and I kept it all in, and I just drank it all down for so long that it was just so cathartic just to tell somebody that, like, what actually was going on in my head. Yeah. I mean, that was huge for me. But also another challenge I had, which I think was part of your question, right? Was I was never like, I'm never drinking again. I was always, okay, when am I going to be able to drink again?
Mm-hmm.
That was always my like thought in the back of my head, until, I kind of, it was hard, because the forever, that was a lot of my thoughts back and forth, was like, how am I going to do this forever? Like, every vacation, I'm going to turn 40 this year. Like, it's, I'm going on vacation in April. Am I going to be able to, I'm not going to drink there. Am I not going to drink on vacation ever again? I'm not going to drink when I'm 40. Am I not going to drink this and that, and the other thing? And, you just start that downward spiral. That hung me up a lot.
Yeah.
My brother was the first one who said, like, he was very supportive of all this. And, I'm very thankful for that, because, him and I were drinking buddies for so long, but he was the first one to actually say, like, well, maybe you just shouldn't drink ever again. And I was kind of like, whoa, like, what? Like, really? You're saying that? Like, it was just unexpected. But it was almost like giving me permission to think about it.
Yeah.
Which was helpful. Which, if everybody listening, everybody has permission to think about never drinking again. If you're like, it's an option.
Yeah.
It was still scary, but it was definitely the start of, I guess, going down that road, and maybe thinking like, okay, well, maybe I can. But ultimately, I still kind of, after 60 days, I tried moderation at like a work function. We were in San Antonio, and that didn't work. And then came home, and we had a family weekend at like Amish country, where there's like the wine tastings and all that we did. And, I didn't, at that point, I got home from San Antonio, and I went basically right to that. And I was just like, at that point, I was just like, oh, I'm just going to drink whatever this weekend and get back to it on Monday. And I got back to it, and I was good for a week. And that weekend I might've had a drink, trying to moderate. And eventually, at the end of April of 2019, I went on vacation, and that was when I tried again to, I'm going to moderate this vacation. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to see how it works. And it worked for all except 2 days, I say.
Yeah.
I think the Monday we were there, we just had one too many at happy hour. Like, we were going to go to happy hour and then dinner, but happy hour went from getting one drink to being there for 3 hours, I think. And then going to dinner.
Yeah.
And then coming home and grabbing something else. And then, so that kind of went out the window, but then I was good for a couple of days. And then the Friday, the last day we were there, we were down at the beach, and I just said, screw it. I'm just going to do whatever today. but every day it was always in the forefront of my brain. Like, okay, what can I drink today? When can I drink? Like, okay, well, I'm not going to drink yet because I'm going to save it for later.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just that so much stress to figure out how we want to go about it and what we want to do. And it just, it was a good vacation, and, I was fairly successful at that, but it was just the constant stress that was like, is this really worth it? And I think Friday I knew I was going to start again on Monday, right? Start Monday. And I started Monday then, and had my last drink April 28th as I was passed out during Game of Thrones, and had to rewatch that the next day. And I didn't know, like when I started there, I was like, I have no idea where this is going now. Like I was kind of like, it felt, I remember it felt weird because before it's like, okay, the first time I'm like, okay, I need to change. And I didn't drink for 60 days. And then I kind of tried this thing, and it didn't necessarily work out. But at this point I was like, I have no idea. Let's just try 61 days this time is what I said. Let's just try one more day. And that was where I started. And I didn't even know if I'd make it through the weekend.
Wow.
But little by little, day by day, I felt better. And I kind of just, okay, well, maybe I can feeling better. Maybe I can do this. And just kind of kept working on things and went from there.
Yeah. Oh, so you had a vacation and then you quit right after that vacation? Me too.
Yeah, we got back Sunday. Yeah, and we got back Sunday, and then that Monday is when I was like, no, I'm done for now.
And I didn't even think of that until you just said that, but I was like, wow, that was me too. Like I just went hard on a vacation.
Yeah.
And around the time I was like, I really wanted to quit, but I couldn't quit because of vacation. I was like, vacation's going to be ruined if I don't drink. And so I actually quit on the flight home I was with my mom in Morocco, and I quit on the flight, and then I called her a week later, and I don't know if I told her that I thought I had a problem with alcohol, but I think I was just like, I need a break type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, same type of thing. I said I was going to do 28 days, and then, here I am 2 years later. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So speaking of vacations, I am super excited to hear about your sober vacation. So I know you recently went on sober vacation. I was following along, and I did one too.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped to hear about that. Like how is it different being sober on vacation than drinking?
Yeah. So in April I went, so just before my 2 years. So I don't know. I feel like I was kind of cheating because, having 2 years under my belt without alcohol is a little easier than it would have been
the early days.
Had we went on this same vacation the year before, like we planned.
Mm-hmm.
But because of COVID, we didn't. But it was great. Like it was the most relaxing vacation I've ever been on, first of all. And really, my biggest problem on vacation, besides just taking the training wheels off and just being like, I'm just going to drink all week, was the first night was always kind of set the tone for me for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So in all my previous vacations, I would get to where I was going, but it was like, okay, you have to work a ton to be able to take off the week. You have to get all this stuff done ahead of time. So, you don't need to do anything the week you're for work, the week you're there. So there's all that stress. And then there's the stress of traveling. And if you're flying or driving, you could have delays or traffic or whatever. And then you get there and you have to check in or, however the process is, there's always it just takes forever to get there. And then when you get there, then you're just like, like you're give me a drink.
Yeah.
And every vacation, the first day for me, was just blackout drunk, typically, 9 times out of 10 for these vacations. Like I just got there and I just started drinking and didn't stop until I passed out. And then I woke up and felt like shit. And then that kind of, then I'm on vacation. So maybe I'll crack a beer and just go to the beach or go wherever, pool or whatever. And and then just kind of, kind of roll on from there. So this vacation, I felt like I cheated a little bit because I scheduled a live with Keola for like 6 or 7 p.m. when we got there. So because I knew, I'm like, okay, our flight gets in at 3 or something. We've got to get the car and get there. I'm like, well, that'll be good. And so I scheduled my live on 1,000 Hours Dry for later, because then I was like, okay, well, that'll give me something to do right away. And that'll take like any kind of urges away or whatever, hopefully, or it'll allow me to just kind of sit and calm myself before, starting off on vacation. And so I did that on purpose. Again, not that I was like, as I was 2 years in, I wasn't really worried about that, but I wanted to set myself up for the first day to kind of feel good. So doing something like that helped me a lot to kind of break up. Okay, when I get there, I talked to her right away. Like I had 15 minutes from the time I went in the door to when I went live with her. So there's a little stress there getting there, making sure we got there on time, but and not having to do it from the car. But yeah, we got there, I did that. And then after that, I was like, I felt relaxed. It was nice out. And we just hung out and talked that night. And, the kids were playing and I just had I picked up whatever, non-NA seltzers, beers, whatever I, wanted. And then I just enjoyed a couple of those. And, that kind of, I woke up on Sunday then and felt perfectly fine. Like I felt great. And then that kind of led to me every day I caught the sunrise because we could see it from like our house we rented. We could look out and like the bay was like a little bit away, and we could just look and see the sunrise every morning. So I caught every sunrise.
Wow.
And that just kind of like, so I felt phenomenal from that point forward. I didn't worry at all about vacation. Because once I got through that stress and woke up the next morning refreshed, then I kind of was just like, all right, my normal self, and it's just another week. But because of that, I just was able to relax and enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something important of like, I say to my coaching clients a lot, like if you have things that you know are going to trigger you or times that are going to trigger you, like if you schedule something else in, and I think what you did like by doing that live is like the perfect example because it's also something that's like connected to your sobriety. And so it like kind of reminds you of like why you're here, what you're doing. And
I mean, having an accountability partner, posting on Instagram, like, hey, post your days on Instagram. Let's say you don't want to drink on this vacation and you're, 31 days in, like post every day, like 32, 33, 34, and just, just different things like that. I'm not all about counting days, but it is important sometimes. And, but yeah, really to go off what you said there, what are your tendencies? Like I drank hard the first night. I knew that about myself. So I needed to break that up. Do you drink at the beach all day? Do you drink just at night? Do you, how do you go, what do you do when you go on vacation? And breaking that up or having other options, making sure your cooler's packed with waters and iced coffees and whatever, iced tea, seltzer, NA beer. I don't drink a lot of NA beer, but I had Heineken Zero on the beach, and just to, have one of those, again, that's triggering for some people. So you have to take that into consideration. But just having that and then having, I had one and I was like, that was good. And, kind of quench my thirst and it felt normal to have a beer on the beach. And, but troubleshooting, like what really kind of are your pain points as far as drinking is concerned on vacation. And that kind of brings me to like plan. So we're going to Vegas then in like 3 weeks, I think it is 2.5 maybe. And, we're doing, I've gone to Vegas before, and the first day I've been blackout drunk at 1:00 in the afternoon by the pool, with my brother-in-law taking care of me. And which was basically just putting a towel over my pale body. And, but we're going there, but we're going to do we're going to go to Zion National Park, and we're going to go see the Grand Canyon one day, and then we're going to come back. And, we're just kind of planning other things to do besides sit at the pool, drink all day, gamble, drink all day. And I mean, we'll sit at the pool a lot. We don't gamble a ton, but, we don't gamble a lot actually at all. But, sit the slot machines for a while or whatever, and throw some money away. But, just doing different things on your vacations, I think are big too. If you go to the beach, what else is around there? Like what other sites can you check out, or what can you rent jet skis for the afternoon, or that kind of thing. Just what else can you do besides your normal sit and drink?
Yeah. And I think talking about all those like tourist things, it reminded me of my first sober vacation, which I almost canceled because that was how worried I was about it. I think I was like 3 months in, and I had just booked a little stopover, like going back from Canada to the Middle East. I was going to stop in Paris, and I was so flippin' excited. It was like a place I wanted to go all my life. And I had just imagine Paris with like a glass of wine in my head, in my hand, staring at the Eiffel Tower, and I was like, I can't do it. Like I almost canceled the whole trip because I was like, I just can't do it. And I remember going to like the Louvre, like going to museums and just being like, holy crap, this is actually enjoyable because I'm not hungover. And normally I would be like wandering around the museums being like, where is there a bench where I can like sit? So I was just so tired all the time. And I just remember that I was like, wow, vacation is like I ended vacation being like, this was 1,000 times better than any vacation when I was drunk.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And this past one I went on, like that was the thing. Like I was never once like, I got better each day. Like I felt better each day because I just relaxed more. And I wasn't drinking. I wasn't like killing myself like to get better in the day so that I could drink more that night again, just to do it all again tomorrow, and then come home and like everybody says, like, oh, I need a vacation for my vacation. Well, a lot of times people just, we drink here at our home in our normal life, and then we go here and we do the same thing and we just drink more. We're just in a different location. It's like, relax, read, I'm not going to sit here and say journal and meditate and all that, but, do your morning routine, like do yoga on the beach, I read a lot, on the vacation, not as much as I wanted to, but, I just rather float in the pool sometimes too, versus doing that. So, but yeah, just finding those, I think keeping your routine too is important, especially if you have like a set like morning routine or something. Like if you get up and you have a glass of water and a cup of coffee and read and meditate and journal and do yoga and do other things, like go for a walk, like keeping that on vacation is helpful, because then getting up early, I think helps. And then you go to you're not up till all hours of the night drinking. Like you can still stay up as long as you want, but then you wake up, and regardless of how little sleep you might have got, you're still more refreshed than you would have been before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you slept all like morning, trying to sleep off a hangover. Yeah. You can function on less sleep then.
That's so true. And you mentioned something about being prepared with alternatives. I actually think I think you did an Instagram post about that. And that is what inspired me on my most recent weekend away. I had not even thought to bring my own drinks to a hotel before. Hadn't even crossed
Oh
my
yeah.
mind. And I was actually already on my way to the hotel, and I ended up ordering a package of alcohol-free drinks to be delivered to the hotel.
Nice.
Yeah, because the two times where I have had a drink in my sobriety have been on a staycation at a hotel in
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi because I'm just like, this
Okay.
is what I want to do. And it's no big deal because it was just a beer. I didn't like
Yeah.
hold it against myself of like, it's all over,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
definitely did not want to have a drink on the vacation. And
Yeah.
so the thought of packing things, I think for myself, like I would never think to do that, but it was a lifesaver. And then I made my cool
Yeah.
TikTok of all my drinks and it was awesome. So
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I know I packed as much as I could because we were flying. And so if we were driving, I would have like brought a full like NA selection of stuff. I would have half of my car would have been packed with stuff like that.
Totally.
And offering it to everybody like, hey, does anybody want, yeah, that. And then just sitting at the beach. Like I did the one reel where I'm sitting there drinking like all the different options. Like there's iced coffee and seltzer and soda and NA beers. And, there's just so many options that, it's become like I don't know, it gets kind of annoying after a while. Like the whole NA thing, like it's like NA beer, NA drinks can be anything. It could be this seltzer here. This could be a glass of water or a coffee. Like that's NA. That's NA. So whatever NA means to you and whatever you are comfortable with, just having those options and enjoying them, like, get the things you like. Now's vacation is a time to splurge, right? I mean, you can, on stuff like that, like get whatever you like. And I think I said on the post too, like, enjoying desserts when you go out and things like that, which, I would have been before, I would have been like, no, I'm good. I'm like, ooh, there's this extra nice whiskey here on the menu that I can get as dessert. So that's what I would have done. But, but just having the key lime pie when you're in Florida and stuff like that is, stuff that kind of keeps you happy and kind of keeps the vacation nice.
Wait, is key lime pie from Florida? Is that why?
I think, yeah, like Key West and
right.
the Keys.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. Cool. Didn't know that.
We weren't down that far, but yeah, we were on the Gulf side, but I think it's just, a Florida thing, but.
Cool. I had no idea. I've had the pie and I've been to Florida, but
yeah.
Cool. There you go.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who is going on their first sober vacation? What would you suggest?
Like what we talked about, I would kind of think through like what your normal, vacations look like and where you definitely think ahead and just be like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going? Like plan ahead. Like you don't have to totally plan every single second of your day, but like, okay, we're going here, we're going to a beach, we're going to Vegas, we're going to wherever. Are you going to be at the beach all day, or are you going to do touristy like hiking and different sightseeing stuff? Or, what are you going to do? Plan that out and then figure out like where you think in the past you would have like drank, and just plan what else can you do? Like now, if you do things now while you're at home, how can you take those and implement it on your vacation? So I think that's big, is just to plan ahead and just kind of think through the different scenarios. Definitely focus on the positives while you're there. Focus on the fact that you feel great, that you feel all the money you're saving, the fact that you're actually resting, and you can still do everything. You can still be at the beach with everybody. You can still be, you can still do all the things. You just don't need to have alcohol to enjoy it. Which also brings me to another thing is I would recommend, making sure at least some people that if you're going with other people, like make sure at least some people know that you're not drinking ahead of time. Just in case that's, some people always feel like that's going to be an issue with friends. If you're going with a couple families or if you're going with, however you do it, if you're going with, friends, And they all, if you all drank before and you're not drinking now, but they don't know you're not drinking now, and then you just show up, and you're like, no, I'm good, I'm not drinking. Like, you're going to get questions, right? So
Yeah.
I think talking about that ahead of time and letting people know that, what you're doing and getting support from people, and the people that support you. And I mean, most people will support you, and then some of the friends that'll be idiots about it or whatever. But yeah, definitely having like somebody who has your back is always a good thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good point. I remember on my first sober vacation, I showed up and the person, I think I might have told him ahead of time. I had met him on vacation, and I had met him on that Morocco vacation where I was drinking all the time. I do think I told him I was sober, but what I didn't tell him was that I was now a vegetarian. I think it was maybe I guess I was less worried about being pressured around meat.
Yeah.
Than alcohol per se, but I do remember showing up I was staying at his mom's house with him, and she had prepared me like a French array of like meats.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because now actually I've actually gone back to kind of dabbling in meat, because it was almost like this momentum I had around my sobriety of like, I'm going to quit coffee, I'm going to stop eating meat, I'm going to and now I've hit the point where I'm like, okay, what's important is that I'm sober.
Definitely.
But anyway, I think you're totally right. It was a total tangent about telling people ahead of time. If you're sober, definitely tell them if you're a vegetarian. So don't make you meat.
Because I can imagine the disappointment on his mom's face. That
I felt so bad. But they were
just like, well, maybe I'll eat some just to make you happy.
But they were so good about, like they're Parisians and like wine is part of their culture. And they just like didn't even have it in the house after I said, I think I was like 90 days sober, and they were amazing hosts. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the very least, having options, go grocery shopping. If you're at a hotel, you can always find some store or whatever to go to and get some different options, or ask the hotel what they can get, like you did, or have stuff delivered ahead of time. Just
helps
get what you like and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you mentioned a bit at the beginning when we were just chatting about the kind of work you're doing now with Reframe and kind of recovery coach training. So tell me about that.
So over this past, at this point, I don't know, 9 months or whatever, I've been doing, getting certified for life and recovery coach training. I'm wrapping that up now, and have my practice clients, and as well as to wrap up my certifications, as well as doing some group meetings on the Reframe app, which is a great tool. I feel I wish I had this whenever I first started, because there's just so much in there that I didn't know at the time. Because it kind of gives you a toolbox right away. Like that's part of the thing. There's a button for a toolkit, and I had to figure that out over time. Like, again, I didn't have the sober Instagram community right away, and I had my therapist who helped me build that out and gave me different things without calling it that. But now you go on Instagram, it's like, oh, what's in your toolbox, and it's the buzzword and all that. So it's easier to see now and find. But it all kind of has everything all in one spot for you. But then they just launched this new coaching feature where you can, I love it because it's like how I started, like on BetterHelp, where you can have, you have all these group meetings, but you can also, send video messages or text messages to your coach and get responses, possibly in real time. It just depends, obviously there's, everybody's in different time zones and different windows that people are working and checking, but within a, 24-hour period, you get a response on. And for me, like that extra level of accountability is key for a lot of people. I know it was for me. I know some people can just do things on their own, and when they set their mind to something, they just do it. That wasn't me. I need accountability a lot, whether it's doing some kind of challenge, like 75 hard challenge where you work out 75 days and all that. Like I needed to post that last year. I didn't finish it, but I needed to post that about that every day, just so, it wasn't like I was bragging like, hey, look at me, I'm doing this. I'm like, no, I'm posting this so that I know other people see that I'm posting this and I keep going, which is the same reason why, I would share milestones or my day count early on whenever I was sharing that every day, even though I didn't really share that with when people were following me back when I started my account. But that that toolkit, having that accountability layer is just so helpful, I think, early on for sure. But I think it's good to always refresh ourselves too. Like I'm still with my same therapist now that I started with back in January of 2019.
Wow.
We have a call tonight, actually. So yeah, I mean, so, that's a great tool. I think people will get a ton of benefit from.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's really awesome to have, like, I think it's especially challenging for men to speak about mental health and speak about therapy. And so it's really important, the work you're doing, like speaking out about alcohol, speaking about mental health, speaking openly about going to therapy, because I think it's only going to like empower more people to access these tools too.
Yeah. And I often wonder too, because, I share about that stuff and share about going to therapy, but I don't feel a stigma around it. But I guess looking back on it, there was a reason why I didn't do it ever. Mm-hmm. And there was a reason why I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't need to share or do that kind of thing. But it literally, changed my life just by submitting that one thing that Tuesday night online, and just getting my foot in the door there, just showing up for myself. That was a huge deal. The rest is it's not history, but it's ongoing.
So as we finish up, like, is there any advice you would give in general to someone who wants to quit drinking? What would you suggest?
I would reach out to somebody and ask questions. Just, you don't have to do it alone. Definitely, I think community is the key, whether that's just with one person, whether that's just with, a therapist, whether that's just with a coach, whether that's in the Reframe app, they have a forum. So all the users can go in and share, ask questions and share thoughts and ideas and stuff like that. Or Instagram, just reaching out to people on Instagram and asking questions. Don't be afraid. I always recommend to people like, oh, well, my personal account, people aren't going to understand if I share stuff about that. I'm like, well, set up an anonymous account. That's how mine started. Set up an anonymous account and then share away. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to put your name. And, just having a connection, I think is huge, and just keep learning as much as you can. You can read all the, I in addition to the therapy and the journaling and all that, I read every book I could get my hands on, or I listened to every book, actually, audiobooks, but audiobooks and podcasts like this, I just kind of devoured all the information, and it kind of kept me going. It kind of kept me it gave me information, it gave me things to do, but it also just, allowed me to just hear other people talking about this, which I never heard before. Right. Because we're not supposed to talk about this stuff. But doing that, made me feel less alone, or less like the odd one out. Why am I the only one that can't control this? Well, you're not. Even when people look like they can control this stuff, it can all be a facade. I just shared on a reel the other day, I think it was show me a time whenever you were at your lowest, but nobody knew around you. And it's all these pictures of me smiling. It's all these pictures of me smiling and on vacation and all this stuff. Yeah. But I can look at each one of those pictures and just remember, at that time, how I was feeling, and how, how low I really was, even though nobody around me knew. And the quicker, I guess, people realize that we're all just human and we need support, it'll be easier
Yeah.
to get support, get help, and reach out for help and accept it, really.
That's so true. Yeah.
But,
And the more you
yeah.
talk about it, the lighter the load becomes.
Yeah, for sure. And the easier it gets to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a year. I started hosting on 1,000 Hours Dry April of 2020, or last year. Wow. So since then, it's been an interesting like year and a month of just continuing to, because even before that, I was opening up a little bit, and but, each step along the way, each time I opened up more and more, it got easier to share, and it got easier to help others, and just getting your comfort level goes up with it.
Yeah.
Over time.
Well, Kevin, this was such an awesome episode. It was so cool to finally meet you and to connect and
likewise.
To chat sober vacations. And I will be seeing you on Instagram. I'll give your Instagram handle in the episode link if anyone wants to give Kevin a follow. I recommend it. He has amazing sober content. And
thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll see you soon again.
Yes, likewise. I'll share my now my plan with Vegas is to do some kind of video or reel or IGTV about like getting the different bartenders to make mocktails and how the best way to go about that is. So we'll see if I can pull that off.
Love it. Amazing. Love it. So. All right. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, have a good night. Bye.